happy to have one of our first guests on. Not only a friend of the show, but a really interesting guest, John Beaver. We got this guest from you, who emailed one of our executive producers and gave us an idea that we should interview John, who's the CEO and president of a company called BIOLASE. BIOLASE is a publicly traded company under the stock symbol BIOL, and you can go to biolase.com. And joining us via Zoom this week is there's John. Hey, John, how are you? Good to see you, man.
Doing well, Sully. Thank you.
Hey, listen, let's get a recap going, because you have a lot of stuff going with respect, and I'm seeing video out there on social media. I'm seeing video out there in the world of and I know we went out on the street with you at one point and visited, when you were visiting, I believe, dentists to talk about, adoption and adoptability, and everybody sort of is welcoming you with open arms. Talk about what you guys are manufacturing, because it is in the soft tissue and all tissue laser business, but it's dental lasers. So talk a little bit about that real quick.
That's right. BIOLASE is the world's leading dental laser company. So we make two types of lasers. One's an all-tissue laser, which is our Waterlase brand, and that's a laser that cuts both soft and hard tissue being bone and teeth, if you will. And then a diode laser or soft tissue laser, which is our Epic brand. So we have about 60% global market share in the all-tissue laser space, and we're also number one in the soft tissue space with about 25% market share.
Let's talk a little bit about how you've marched on with respect to changes in how you market this product, because you didn't take this, invent this, and then bring it out to a big pharma company or a marketing company to bring to market. You're doing this with your troops on the ground, and I don't think I've ever heard of a CEO of a publicly traded company actually sit in the car with one of your sales guys, which you've done a number of times, and go visit dentists on sales calls. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, that's certainly the favorite part of my job, getting to spend a day with our territory managers in the U.S. and visiting both current customers, some customers who had bought the laser maybe many years ago that weren't fully utilizing the laser, and future customers. One example was last week I was in Miami, and we've talked about before on the show the Waterlase Exclusive Trial Program, where we give a laser, a Waterlase, to a dentist, let them try it for 45 days in their office, and then to 45 days we ask them, do you want to buy it or not? And so far we've been very successful with that program. On Monday of last week, I was in Miami and got to do the installs for 5 WETP participants who were really excited coming off the training that we had that previous Friday and Saturday.
John, that's how they, when you have a really good product that is irresistible, and you don't have time for, believe me, I promise you this is going to happen. It's like what the TV guys did back when the first television came out. They let them borrow the TV for a week. Said, if you don't like it, return it. And of course, it was one of those irresistible products, just like this is. Talk about adoption, because obviously dental services are equated with one word. Unfortunately, that's pain. And you guys are using that to your advantage. You're leveraging that word pain in a number of ways. Talk about that.
No, absolutely. So from an adoption standpoint, only about 7% of the dentists in the U.S. have an all-tissue laser. Now, as I said, the good news is 60% of that is ours. So as we look at adoption, I would tell you that 10, 15 years ago, when we started selling lasers to dentists, we were really selling to the innovators. These are dentists, and just like any other technology change curve, who wanted to be the first on the block with a laser. If they used it, great. If not, great too. They could say that they were the first, as said, on the block with it. Now we're into the early adopters, and that's the next 5 to 20% of the market, and they are what we really need. And I think for these dentists, they have to know that it's safe to go in the water, if you will, and that's the reason the trial program is so important. But these dentists need to have a laser that works all the time, that is easy to use, intuitive, and also plenty of education and training that is provided after the sale. And that's really what we've gotten after the last couple of years.
So, John, you guys have made, in the 6 months I've known you and we've had you on the air, I've seen you guys, not only exceed expectations with respect to results, and I know you've got some numbers coming out in a few days that we can't talk about here, but you're going to have an earnings call here coming up on March 17th, and what's interesting about that is that it's highly anticipated this time. I mean, you've got a lot of attention on you now that you didn't have, even a year ago. So my question for you is, what are we doing? Are we just staying the course now, or are we doubling down on existing clients? Are we still trying to get new clients? What's the focus right now as far as boots on the ground in marketing? Because I think that's where you're.
So in 2021, we really developed the strategy of going hard after the specialists, doubling down on what we believe was a successful trial program, and also continue to work on the dental service organizations, corporate dentistry, and trying to make inroads there, because we believe that those three areas are essential for us to drive adoption. We were successful in all three last year. Specialists made up over a third of our Waterlase sales in the U.S. last year. As I mentioned, the WTP, we had about 40% of our Waterlase sales in the U.S. come from that program, with about a 40% success rate, and we continue to make inroads on DSOs. So the good thing about 2022 as we head into it, we don't have to come up with new strategies. We don't have to invent things. What we're doing is working now. We have data that is showing us working, and now we stay the course and double down on these, I think, very effective strategies.
John, I have to ask you, you just said corporate dentistry. I don't think I've heard that term before from you. What is that? How is corporate dentistry defined?
So we have a saying internally that if you've met one DSO, you've met one DSO, because they're all different. But think about, dentist groups that take the form of many different things. I'll give you an example. Heartland Dental is the largest DSO, as we call it, in the U.S. They have over 2,500 dentists, over 2,000 offices working for them. Private, equity-backed, KKR owns them. And I will tell you, you probably wouldn't know a Heartland dentist if you walked into their office, because they're all branded differently.
Sure.
Compare that to a Aspen dentist, where you see Aspen on the signs outside the door. Once again, another DSO working under a corporate umbrella, but completely different, kind of business model than potentially the Heartland. And those are just two of the largest, but you have regional DSOs as well. And these are dental service organizations that may have only 5 offices, 3 offices, 50 offices under their umbrella. So they all are a little bit different.
And John, and they're for the taking. And it's exciting to see that 60% market share roll up to 70 and 80% as the years roll on. John Beaver, thank you, buddy. John Beaver
thank
is
you.
the
Always
president.
great seeing you.
You too, pal. I'll see you in
Appreciate it.
studio next week. Actually, John's going to come back with us. And BIOL, their stock symbol, biolase.com.